and didn't know they were being watched. And I know this video is about to have a huge twist. I'm gonna tell you why in a little bit. What's good? How you day going? Morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. The reason why I feel like that, because the damn description. Not a typical Mrballen video. Stick around to the end to find out why. Meaning at the end, some shit gonna really flip. So meaning I ain't gonna have my foot in my mouth this one. We're gonna watch the video, then we're gonna talk ish at the end. Yo, you wanna check out the original video? Link will be in the description below, but let's go.
If you haven't heard about what happened at the Gay Pride Parade in the Netherlands, it's likely because you haven't seen the infamous security footage that's currently going viral on Reddit and other places on the internet. Today, I'm going to show you portions of that security footage and tell you the story about what's really happening so you have context and can really appreciate what you're seeing. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please swap out all of the Pop-Tarts in the like button's pantry for the unfrosted kind. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads.
Yeah, the boys
okay,
is
let's
nasty.
get into
I gotta mute.
today's story.
Gotta mute. Copyright. The boys are nasty. Pride, Amsterdam.
On September 27th, 2018, in a little city in the Netherlands, a security camera captured 6 men walking calmly toward this brick bungalow inside one of the country's holiday parks. A holiday park is a place that offers cheap accommodations to tourists. They typically have things like campsites, RV parking, cheap bungalows for rent, and they also often offer things like swimming and golfing and bowling, so it's kind of like an all-in-one for families on vacation. But on this September day, these 6 men caught on camera were neither family nor on vacation. Instead, as they walked, it was very clear from their body language that the only thing they were interested in was getting inside of their holiday bungalow. Once they did reach the front door of this bungalow, the apparent leader of the group, who had dark brown hair and a full beard, he pulled out a key, unlocked the door, he opened it up, and then he made sure the rest of the men took off their shoes before walking inside. And then once all the men were inside the door, the leader shut the door and locked it behind them, and then barefoot, they walked through the hallway into this corner living room in the back of the bungalow. And in this room, there was this L-shaped couch that was centered on a coffee table and a couple of chairs scattered throughout the rest of the room. And so the 6 men kind of took up seats in these different places, and then after they were all sitting down, 2 of the men who had been seen walking into the bungalow carrying backpacks and duffel bags, they pulled those bags out and set them on the coffee table. And as soon as these 2 men did that, the other 4 men who had been chatting amongst themselves went completely silent and turned and just faced the bags on the table. It was very clear that whatever was in the bags was very significant. So significant, in fact, that the group had pulled most of the curtains across all of the windows inside of this bungalow to make sure no one outside could look in and potentially see the contents of these bags.
Some
And
illegal
once
activity.
the 2 men unzipped the duffel bags and backpack and began putting the contents of the bags onto the table, it became incredibly clear why the men were so on edge of these bags. And once the 2 men unzipped the duffel bags and backpack and began putting the contents of the bags onto the table, it became incredibly clear why the men were so on edge. Inside of these bags were guns, and in the Netherlands, no private citizen is allowed to possess them. Over the next hour, the 2 men who had actually carried the guns into the bungalow, they began going over some instruction with the other 4 men of how to use these slick black pistols and AK-47 rifles. They taught them how to load the guns and reload and how to aim, and they did a number of dry firing exercises, which is basically pulling the trigger on any real gun when the gun is not loaded. And so these 4 students paid careful attention to their 2 instructors, and at some point they became more confident, and you could just see the excitement was building in the room. At one point, one of the students grabbed 2 of the AK-47 rifles and held one in each arm and pretended to fire them simultaneously, like you would see in the Rambo movies. But when one of the 2 instructors reached back into one of these bags and pulled out a new item, a vest, and laid it on the coffee table, immediately the mood in the room shifted again. Now the students seemed more nervous than excited. One of the 4 students eventually walked forward and somewhat reluctantly extended his arm to allow the instructor to slip the vest onto him. And then once the vest was put on the student, you can see in the camera footage there are pockets all over this vest with little wires poking out of them. This vest was a suicide vest, and the pockets contained explosives. As one of the instructors showed the student in the vest which cord to pull in order to detonate himself, you can hear in the background someone saying, "When the police come, you can take them with you." A little over 2 hours later, these 6 men were done, and they began packing up their arsenal of new weapons back into the bags, and then they stood up to leave. But when they left, it was the students who had the bags of weapons, not the 2 instructors. Once the 6 men had left the bungalow and were back outside again, they put their shoes back on, they locked the bungalow behind them, and then the 2 instructors were seen on camera walking away from the bungalow to a separate car. They drove off, and then the 4 men that now had the weapons, they walked to a nearby white cargo van, which contained 1 other man who had not...
Well, let me hear this one more time. Damn, it's so many people. Hold up real quick.
And then they stood up to leave. But when they left, it was the students who had the bags of weapons, not the 2 instructors. Once the 6 men had left the bungalow and were back outside again, they put their shoes back on, they locked the bungalow behind them, and then the 2 instructors were seen on camera walking away from the bungalow to a separate car. They drove off, and then the 4 men that now had the weapons, they walked to a nearby white cargo van, which contained 1 other man who had not been inside of the bungalow with them, but he was very much a part of this group. He was their driver. And so as the 4 men with guns approached the white van, the driver saw them, he climbed out, he ran around to the back and opened up the back doors that led into the windowless back cargo area of the van. And the 4 men with guns, they climbed inside, the driver shut the van, climbed back into the driver's seat, and then before long, the driver was leaving the parking lot and heading north towards the city of Amsterdam, which is the capital of the Netherlands. Every year, Amsterdam plays host to one of the largest gay pride parades and events in the world. The location is significant to the LGBTQ community because it was here in 2001 that the first gay marriage bill was signed into law, making the Netherlands the first country in the world to legalize gay marriage. So, for 1 week a year, hundreds of thousands of people pour out onto the streets and line the canals of Amsterdam, all drawn together to affirm gay rights and to celebrate their sexual expression, preference, and identity. And the men in the white windowless van intended to use their new weapons and training to kill or maim as many parade goers as possible. They were hopeful that their terrorist attack would rival or even eclipse the attack from 2015 in Paris in a nightclub that killed or injured more than 500 people and sent shockwaves through Europe. 30 minutes later, the 4 men in the back of this windowless van felt the van slow down.
I think that's the one I was thinking about as well when I was like, yeah, I know about this one. The one we watched recently, when it was like, okay, we got to hear like the phone call from, no, not the phone call. I think it was a phone call or was the dispatch, whatever, radio. I don't remember exactly, but that was the most I heard of it. So that's why I was like, yeah, I don't know that much about it, but I don't know which one. Honestly, it's been so damn many now to the point where it's like, yo, this shit is legit getting sick as fuck. It's like I don't even want to look into them anymore. It's nothing but traumatizing, man.
Windowless van intended to use their new weapons and training to kill or maim as many parade goers as possible. They were hopeful that their terrorist attack would rival or even eclipse the attack from 2015 in Paris in a nightclub that killed or injured more than 500 people and sent shockwaves through Europe. 30 minutes later, the 4 men in the back of this windowless van felt the van slow down and pull off the main road and not come to a complete stop, but just kind of begin to slow roll, which was odd because they had no reason to slow down and they were at least 30 minutes away from their destination. And so instinctively, the men reach down and make sure their guns are safely stowed inside of their bags and out of sight in case somebody opens the back door. They don't want people to know they have guns. They are illegal. And so as the van continued to go painfully painfully slowly for really no reason that was clear, the men in the back of the van were really starting to worry that something was wrong. Now remember, they have no windows. They can't look outside. They don't know what's going on. However, there was a small crack in the partition that separated the back of the van from the front of the van where the driver was. And so the men in the back of the van began craning their necks and looking through this little crack to try to see if they could understand what was in front of the van and, why the driver had stopped. And when these men looked through that little crack and they saw what was out there, they immediately began to panic. They began reaching down and fumbling for their bags, trying to open them up to get their guns. And then by the time they're kind of getting the guns into their hands, all the doors on the van fly open and the men in the back just begin firing their guns blindly at the open doors. But when they pull their triggers, nothing happens because their guns were
blanks.
They had been sold to them by the people who were flinging open their doors, the police in tactical gear with their dogs, and they knew these guys had fake guns. They knew their suicide vests were fake. They were full of fake explosives. They have nothing lethal inside of this van. And so the police, they just fling the doors open and send in the dogs. And so the dogs, they jump into this van, and these wannabe terrorists are screaming, and they're firing their fake guns at the dogs as the dogs...
It's like I knew the issue was coming because of the damn title, the thumbnail, and we actually have the footage of them actually in there. So it's like, all right, obviously they had this shit set up, whatever. But at the same time, the story had me so pulled in that I was so pissed because the fact that this is still something that they still wanted to complete though, which is sick as hell. And legit, when they opened the door, tried to take off, legit was gonna take your head off. Like, so they were about the shit.
They have nothing lethal inside of this van. And so the police, they just fling the doors open and send in the dogs. And so the dogs, they jump into this van, and these wannabe terrorists are screaming, and they're firing their fake guns at the dogs as the dogs are shredding these terrorists to bits. And then whenever they tried to jump out, the police would just pistol whip the terrorists until finally all of these wannabe terrorists were in the fetal position crying, or they were crouched down with their hands over their head. It would turn out the two instructors who had brought the duffel bags of guns into the bungalow with the other men, they were not other fellow terrorists. They were undercover police officers who were a part of the special national anti-terrorism team who were able to infiltrate this terrorist cell. These undercover cops were the ones who sold the fake guns and fake explosives to the terrorists, and they were the ones who set up this meeting at the bungalow, which allowed them to place cameras and listening devices all over the place. Plus, they were also able to bug the white van because they knew they would be departing the bungalow inside of it. So, all the wannabe terrorists that you saw on camera...
Wait, maybe I missed this part. But, okay, wait. I'm gonna go back and watch it before at the end of the video. I'm gonna edit it out, though. So, wait. When the 4 students got into the van, though, I thought they left with a friend. I'm gonna go back and watch that part, but hold on.
Departing the bungalow inside of it. So, all the wannabe terrorists that you saw on camera, plus 2 others that were not seen on camera but were totally involved, were all sentenced on October 8th, 2020 to anywhere from 10 to 17 years in prison. Ooh. Meanwhile, the Amsterdam Pride Parade went off without a hitch.
Okay, so I'll take it he was like part of like the package plan or something ish, whatever it sounded like. Because I thought the 4 students, I thought they knew him personally. Like, yeah, he's one of our guys. He's just the driver for us, whatever. But nah, because it wouldn't make sense why he was doing the slow down and shit, whatever. But yo, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Definitely glad no one was hurt. Definitely. It's like I know I feel like I should feel more of like, yo, you should be grateful the ish didn't happen. You can cheer on, blah, 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 everything is good. But it's like, nah, it just still, I ain't gonna lie to you, the shit, that feeling is not there right now. And I ain't about to fake that shit. But it was just like weird, the fact knowing like, yo, you watched videos of these kids wanting to do this. Like, we want to complete this mission. But yo, I'm about to go ahead and get up out of here and enjoy my night. You go ahead and do the same thing. Enjoy your day, morning, evening, night, when you're watching this video. But I'm out.